और इसको बोलने के लिए, ठीक है। ठीक है।
As far as I can see, as far as time extends, no soul was ever born outside this home. No heart has ever beat outside. For in this great land we share a home, and in this great love affair.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Ayam bandhu rayam neti, Gadana lakuchetasam, Udara charita namatu, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This is mine, that is his, say the small-minded. The wise envisage the world as one family. Such is our culture, such is our nation, such is our belief, which makes the world look up to us as Vishwaguru. This millennium-old Vedanta philosophy from Maha Upanishad is indeed a powerful solution to the all-world crisis. Hari Om. I, Padma Shri M. Patro, on behalf of the entire C.I.R.S. family, extend a warm welcome to all the distinguished guests and participants to this C20 seminar with the theme Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is one family. This theme is not only relevant but also crucial in today's time when we are experiencing unprecedented challenges of political expansionist ideologies, monopoly economics, climate crisis and ideological terrorism. It's a proud moment for the entire country as India holds the presidency of the G20 with Prime Minister Narendra Modi globalizing the theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam to the world. One Earth, One Family, One Future. C20 India 2023 is one of the official engagement groups of the G20 that provides a platform for the civil society organization around the world to voice the people's aspiration to the world leaders in G20. The Chinmaya Mission expresses immense honor in being the national coordinator of the C20 with the theme Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Chinmaya Mission has been organizing conferences and events across the nation to aid in drafting key policies at the G20 summit. C.I.R.S, the flagship of the Chinmaya education institutions, is all exhilarated to be your host tonight for the C.I.R.S Family C20 online seminar to witness the best intellectual churning for best global solutions. Seeking the Lord's grace to bless a smooth progression of this conference, may I please welcome our beloved Swami Anukulanandaji, our school principal Srimati Rajeshwari, our headmaster Sri Ganesh and our deputy headmistress Srimati Sharanya to light the lamp and request Mr. Sujata to render the invocation song.
मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजयत्रीं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजयत्रीं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजयत्रीं आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणं त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजयत्रीं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजयत्रीं जननी पृथ्वी कामदो जनको देवः सकलदयालु दाम्यतदत्त दयत्वं जनता दाम्यतदत्त दयत्वं जनता श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
May I now request our Honorable Principal of C.I.R.S, Srimati Rajeshwari, to present the welcome address.
Hari Om and a warm greeting to all C.I.R.S parents. It's always a joy interacting with all of you. As you all are aware, the 18th G20 Summit 2023 is hosted by India. I'm very happy and delighted to share that Chinmay Mission has been honored with the opportunity to be the national coordinator for one of the 14 working groups under C20 called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, World is One Family. C.I.R.S took up various activities in the month of April. First, we briefed all the students from classes 5 to 12 on the objectives of G20 and C20. Our monthly magazine called The Crossroad published various articles on the sub-themes of C20. Classroom seminars were conducted in which the entire school participated. They culminated in the school-level seminar spanning 2 full days. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam was displayed through a symphony of world's dances by 50 students. A group of 40 others walked the ramp displaying traditional attires of the G20 nations. Last 20 days, students of C.I.R.S have been thinking and talking only about C20 Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Today, all our parents and the extended Chinmaya family are coming together for this online C20 seminar. I welcome all of you for having a beautiful experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Rajeshwari. The universal concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is crucial. The idea reminds us that we are responsible not just for ourselves and our communities, but also for the shared commitment and collective actions to build a sustainable future. In this C.I.R.S C20 seminar, we have a lineup of distinguished speakers who will be sharing their insight and expertise on various topics. Smt.Shanti Krishnamurthy, Director, Chinmay Education Cell and Chinmay International Residential School. Sri.Santosh Misra, a former I.A.S, Sri.Sagar Sreenath, a chartered accountant from Singapore and a student of Indian philosophy, cultural studies, geopolitics, history and economics. Smt.Sonal Misra, I.P.S, IG, CRPF, New Delhi. Smt.Jayasree Krishnan, a volunteer restoration ecologist. Gone is the time to remain trapped in the same old zero-sum mindset, which has led to both scarcity and conflict. It is time to get inspired by our spiritual traditions which advocate openness and work together to solve global challenges. These are the words of our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. And with India as the precedent, the theme of the summit provides the basis for conversation, consensus and resolutions. And who best can provide us an insight into the purpose of the C20 conference than Swami Mitranandaji, who has been the national coordinator for these C20 conversations across the nation. Swami Mitranandaji imbibes the spirit of his guru, Swami Chinmayanandaji, in his vision and his work. Swamiji is a Vedantin, a spiritual teacher, a patriot, an author, a playwright and movie maker, an adventurer and an avid traveler, all rolled into one. Swamiji has been conceiving and spearheading numerous national and international projects of Chinmaya Mission for the last 4 decades. We are all ears to hear Swami Mitranandaji.
Audible? Shanti, can you hear? I'm muted, Swamiji. Yes, Swamiji.
Yes, we can hear you, Swamiji.
Yes, Swamiji.
No, that control Rajeshwari had, not me.
Now they've allowed me to unmute.
Very gracious. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratham Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm happy about this initiative C.I.R.S has taken up in taking the message forward to the parents and to the children of our school. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is not a statement of prayer, nor is it a statement of praise. It's not a statement made to maintain harmony in the world. This is a statement which indicates a fact. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a factual statement. It is not an intellectual appreciation. It's a factual statement. What does that mean? Vasudha, the earth, and all beings in the earth, be it an ant or a plant, are all one family. Meaning the whole universe is just a family. We strongly believe the creator and the created both are divine. You cannot separate divinity from the creator and the created. Vedanta clearly says both are same. The cause is nothing but the effect in another form. So keeping this wisdom in mind, it is really brilliant of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and the government of India to take up this theme and address this as a separate theme of, this is the first time Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is introduced into G20 nations, because that's what India stands for. Even when there was COVID, we shared the vaccines. We were taking care of ourselves, and there were small nations which needed, we shared. This is how a family lives. And when something happened in Turkey, again, India stood up. Turkey, in fact, was quite unwilling to stand by India on certain issues, but when they had a disaster, India was the first to go there. We always believed in this idea, this whole universe is one family, and when we have to live here, we have to live here with love and respect. Like all of you know, in our pledge, we say, isn't it? We stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. Love and respect are essentials in any relationship. As long as these two are there, we will cherish that relationship. So if we have to cherish and celebrate the world, we need to understand this factual statement that this entire universe is nothing but expression of that divinity. We may see the difference, but if we can strip off the differences at the superficial level, the content would be only divine. So this is an opportunity for India to tell the world that we believed in this philosophy, not today, 5,000 years ago. Not just 5,000 years ago, further you can go beyond. We believed in this philosophy. When we had the highest, GDP in the world, when we were actually a Vishwaguru, we had the universities in the world. Students used to come from 60 different nations to study here. We had the highest GDP in the world. Trade, we were doing extremely well. Even at that point of time, we did not go and kill somebody. We did not go and conquer any nation. That is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And this is deep down in our DNA. When Ram went to fight, Lord Ram went to fight Ravan, he could have taken Lanka under his kingdom. Imagine a prince in exile comes back with an annexed kingdom, an island attached to him. He didn't do it. He made Vibhishan the king and he came. He fought for his rights. He fought for his Dharma. And it was his duty to do that. He did it. And there was no greed in, like acquiring another person's land. That's what Ram did in Ramayana. Even Ravana's soldiers, when they were dead, he made Lakshman and other, his monkey brigade, to do the last rites for them. And Ram said, the enmity existed, unfortunately, but we can't avoid the samskaras they deserve. Let us give them a right funeral. He did their antim samskar. That was Ram. And that has not changed in India. In the war 20 years ago, that is 2 decades ago, India-Pakistan war, unfortunate again, when it happened, the soldiers who crossed the border from that side, who landed in our country, Indian army flew Maulavis for the deceased soldiers who were lying down in our boundary, and Pakistan did not make a claim of it. The Indian army flew mullahs and Maulavis and gave the enemy soldiers their antim samskar. This is Bharat. This is the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That you take care of your nation's interest, but at the same time stand and help others. If this mutual love and respect can be generated, and this can become a main discourse with the G20 nations, I think we will contribute to the world for a much better relationship of love and respect. These two are necessary to trust anybody. Today, we don't trust people. There's no trust. Within the family, sometimes there's no trust. Within the neighboring states, there's no trust. With the neighboring countries, there's no trust. Trust is gone because mutual love and respect is not there. If we can bring back this philosophy into our schools, through the new education policy, if we can bring this philosophy back through media and entertainment, which has a large influence on the masses, if we can bring this philosophy through sports, because every game, if you see, whether it is tennis or whether it is badminton, the games begin with love all. How does the game start? How do you start a tennis game? Love all. And then you shake hands in the end saying, well done, well played. So through sports, which is again a big influence, through commerce and business, through education, through environment, if we can start bringing this idea that the divinity is not just up somewhere in the sky, the divinity is existing right in front of us. It's not a hidden God somewhere far beyond the clouds. For us, the God is pulsating in everything around us. If this idea we can bring back into the mainstream dialogue, discourse, then there is hope of mutual respect to each nation, and that will help us. Adi Shankara, the child prodigy, at the age of 8, he walked out of his house in search of truth. 8-year-old, leaving the known and moving in searching the unknown, leaving the known for the unknown, an 8-year-old child. And then he walked 1,500 kilometers, reached Omkareshwar, where he found his guru, studied with his guru, and then after 3 years of study, his teacher said, you have to go and spread this knowledge across, bring the spirit of oneness to the people, make them understand. So Shankara took it up as a mission in his life, traveled length and breadth of Bharat, 4 times minimum, to bring this idea of oneness. So in one of the works of Shankara, Viveka Chudamani, Shankara speaks about this oneness. He says, Jati niti kula gotra dhurakam, nama rupa guna dosha varjitam, desha kala vishayadi martuyat, Brahma Tattvamasi Bhavayatma. Jati, Niti, Kula, Gotra, Durakam. Chuck it off. This labels what you have taken on yourself. I belong to this caste, I belong to this creed. Jati, Niti, Kula, family, Gotra, my lineage. Taking pride in all these. These are labels put upon you. And we are lost. We are confused who we are. Lost in various of these identities, which are all superimposed. Jati, Niti, Kula, Gotra, Durakam. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Dosha, Varjitam. Nama, name. Nama, Rupa, form. Body as a form, not the self. Identifying with a name, identifying with a form, identifying with a particular color, discrimination based on racial differences. Where is this mankind? So Shankara says, Nama Rupa, Guna Dosha Varjitam. Thinking very high about yourself, good qualities, what you have. Or there are people who live in guilt, negativity. He said, Dosha Varjitam. Guna and Dosha, remove it. Desha Kala. Desha, space. Kala, time and space. Desha, boundaries. Land, nation. Transcend all this because you don't belong to any of this. Desha, Kala, Vishaya. Various craving for sense objects. You don't identify with all this. Then what should I do? He says, Brahma Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi. That thou art. Not the labels, what you have made a conclusion of yourself. We have to re-examine the conclusions we have about ourselves. Think. What kind of conclusions we have made about ourselves? I am tall, I am short, I am rich, I am poor, I am educated, I am uneducated, I am good, I am bad, I am this caste, that caste, this various layers. We have identified ourselves. Shankara tells us, remove all this. Durakam, chuck that out. Strip it off. Strip off all these conclusions you have made about yourself. Then who are you? Brahma Tattvamasi. That Brahman, that thou art. You are that divine consciousness. You are divine, my friend. Remove all other things. This is Bharat's knowledge. We are the custodians of this wisdom. We need to share this wisdom, not just with G20 nations, but with the rest of the world. We want to share it to enlighten people, not to conquer. We need to be powerful to share this wisdom to the rest of the world. The world doesn't know about it. We need to do this job. That is our responsibility. It's a brilliant idea of bringing this beautiful concept to discuss between the G20 nations. And the Prime Minister brought this up, made G20 motto, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Who on earth would have thought that once a time would come where 20 nations would be discussing Maha Upanishad? The theme of Maha Upanishad, a factual statement of Maha Upanishad. And what does it mean? If you think this is me and that is you, only the mean-hearted, only the wretched, only with average mediocre mind would say that. The wise, Udhara Charitranam, the ones who have the large-heartedness, the wise, will see the entire world as one family. This brilliant thought, government brought it as the theme, motto of G20 and made a vertical out of it for C20. C20 is civil societies. You and I are civilians. We get an opportunity in helping the government of India to make a policy draft, to discuss with the G20 nations. So this kind of discussions, what we have done it in 8 places across India. We started with Tirupati. Then we went and did this similar seminar in Imphal, Manipur. Then we did one in Cochin. Then we did in Amritsar. From Amritsar, Tripura, Kolkata. From Kolkata, Port Blair, Bombay. And the next few are Gurgaon, Assam, Sikkim, and Bangalore, Prayagraj. And the last one would be in Chennai. Why are we doing this? This discussion is what we have. Through our discussions, the finer points which comes, we will compile them and give it to Government of India, to the central team as recommendations. They will assess these recommendations. Based on the recommendations given, they will create a policy draft, make a draft for a policy. And that the Prime Minister would take it up and his team would take it up when G20 leaders come to India. So you and I have got an opportunity to participate in a very ancient Bharatiya theme and come up with innovation, come up with suggestions to make a nice policy, how this can be implemented in rest of the world, how we can do it in India and rest of the world. So this is an opportunity the government felt Chinmaya Mission should take up. And very rightly, they have given it to us because we are not a cult. We don't worship humans. We worship God. We worship knowledge. Ours is a knowledge-based organization. In a knowledge-based organization, this idea, the government gave this idea to Chinmaya Mission because we discussed knowledge and asked us to coordinate across the country to get this going. So in this regard, I'm so happy that C.I.R.S has taken it up to contribute what little we can. Remember, friends, all of us are like that little squirrel in Ramayana. What we do is a little, small things. And doing such small things can help making a draft, giving us an opportunity to connect with Government of India, discussing Maha Upanishad, based on it to make a policy. I think we are fortunate to do this. It is his grace, Gurudev's grace, and it is his vision that they still look at him and they still trust that we can give a good recommendation. So let's deliberate well today. You can also participate. You can also give your suggestions. If you don't get an opportunity to interact, you can write your suggestions to the school. They will compile them and send it to us. All of that can be will be helpful in making a good policy. Nice talking to you people. Thank you very much.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Thank you, Swami Mitranandaji. We are all now set to hear our array of speakers enlighten us with the insight on the topics of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in the areas of education, Dharma, living oneness, business economics, and ecology and regenerative development. Over to our first speaker for this evening.
Hari Om, and a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It has been rightly said, a teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. Deeming this quote true is our beloved Madam Shanti, Director, Academics and Administration, CIRS, who heads the CCMT Education Cell as well. She is also a part of the governing body of 95 schools and 9 colleges in India and abroad. With a master's degree in math and education, Madam Shanti has over 44 years of experience as teacher and administrator. She also founded the Mahindra World School from scratch. Madam Shanti has many accomplishments to her credit. She has partnered with the Bihar government in designing curriculum for the Pathshala schools. She has also designed the academic and vision assessment model for the Chinmaya schools. She has been a British Council ambassador since 2012 and conducts workshops in schools to take these programs forward. Madam Shanti has also been a panel member in the discussions in the World Education Summits. She has been conferred the Chinmaya Gaurav Award, the White Swan Award for the most influential principal, and also the CBSE Mentor Principal Award in 2014 from the then HR Minister Srimati Smriti Irani. She has been honored as Professor of Practice by the Chinmaya University in 2022. Madam has written articles on education in the Mentor magazine and in Career 360. She has been on the panel that framed the latest school quality assessment and assurance model for CBSE schools and has trained hundreds of school leaders in adopting this model. An enthusiastic principal, a passionate teacher, a constant learner, and a paragon of virtues. Over to you, dear Shanti ma'am.
Thank you, Sharda. After hearing Swami Mitranandaji, there's nothing to be said. It's absolutely encompassed, and all details have been shared so beautifully. Very inspiring, Swamiji. Thank you so much for that deliberation. I'm going to share a PowerPoint just to add a couple of my views on the education, and I'll be taking you forward for the next 10 minutes or so on that. So, one second, I'll just share the PowerPoint. My PPT is visible? Okay. So I would like to recall our Prime Minister, Swami Mitranandaji, beautifully said. This is a statement our respected Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi has mentioned. He said, let us join together to make India's G20 presidency a presidency of healing, harmony, and hope. So beautiful these statements are. And let us work together to shape a new paradigm of human-centric globalization. And the theme, the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, aptly chosen by the Prime Minister, One Earth, One Family, One Future, is drawn from the ancient Sanskrit text, Maha Upanishad, as Swami Mitranandaji said. The theme offers the value of all life, human, animal, plant, microorganisms, and also depicts the interconnectedness on planet Earth and the wider universe. Another key element of India's G20 presidency will be to make it a people's G20 as part of C20. A lot of deliberations and discussions and seminars are happening all over the country. And it's very interesting that the India's presidency has come at a time when the country has become the world's 5th largest growing economy. I'm sure you're aware about the 20 nations. And just for the information of our parents, the G20 2022 was organized at Indonesia. The presidency was given to Indonesia. And this year, India is doing, next year is going to be Brazil. And 2025, it will be led by South Africa. And as far as the G20 objective, one of the key objectives they've addressed is the SDG goal, SDG 4, and even our national education policy talks at length about it. To ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and to provide lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. This has been the key factor in the as an aspect of the G20 summit. And the IIT Madras has recently conducted a study and research, and they brought out the educational policies of all the G20 nations and the guest nations individually, in fact. To lack of time, I've just put it together and showing it to you that all the policies, the education policies of these countries address these following points, which are very, very common to most of the countries, including our National Education Policy 2020. The vocational education, there's a big focus on skill development in all the policies. The special emphasis to literacy, numeracy literacy, language literacy, and an exposure to local culture. The digital literacy plays a big role in almost all education policies. Inclusive education has a big, it is given a lot of importance in all the education policies. Gender equality, ethical literacy, education for all, and innovative practices are all been a big focus on almost all the countries have these there in their education policies. They say that in the future years, all other works will be done by missions, and with the creativity has to be nurtured in all our institutions. Education policy has been stressing on a big time. And as a part of the Indian context, we need to understand one thing is very important. It was also shared by Sanjay Kumar, the Secretary of Department of School Education nationwide. He has mentioned he has shared this data on one of the seminars recently. He's mentioned clearly that 48 million schools are there in India with 20 plus languages, 62 education boards, 170 million students in government aided schools, and 95 million students in private schools, and 9.5 million teachers across the country. And in spite of it, he says, according to the McKinsey report, it is also the complexity. It's mentioned very clearly is there's going to be a huge requirement of teachers in due course of time. See, the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, to implement it, to take it forward, we need to understand the challenges that in our country, what we face and what are the challenges that other countries are going to face. It is mentioned in the report that 208% is going to be the estimated of shortage of teachers in India. So that makes us really need to understand how the teacher education should it focus on how we should nurture teachers. And one world, one family is the need of the hour, very clearly. I don't have to talk about it. Swamiji spoke about it so beautifully. We see nations are at war, suicide rates are high. India is catching up. It is getting higher and higher along with the Western nations, and the religion conflicts are increasing. The climate change is an issue. Global change is disrupted. Side effects of pandemic are still going on. In spite of all of that, at the same time, the world GDP has crossed 100 trillion US dollars. What is the solution for the disparity? Can education address this? The only solution is rightly placed by the government: one world, one family, one future. That is the need of the hour. Each one living for the other. All live for the creator and the created. And it is high time to embrace kindness and compassion. I think that is the only solution for it. And it has been really aptly brought out. And what is the technology? How are we going to achieve it? First, at in level in India, and also taking it forward to the other countries. The first and the most important thing, the vision of education needs to go through a paradigm shift. The right now, what the vision of education appears to be marks oriented, career oriented, and money oriented, which has to change to making a human making human making should be the center of vision of education. Unless the vision of education is addressed, we'll be doing the same thing again and again. I'm sure you will all agree with me that the whole concept has to be taken completely 360 degrees round. Turning round the corner has to happen. The national education policy is addressing it in a big way, trying to divert us from only looking at scores and careers and all of that, taking to the larger perspective, now looking at the world as a one family, and how the humanness, they're nurturing humanness in our children. And the second aspect which we need to address, not just in our country, all over the world, is the mindset of people. Education is a field where it involves a lot of human minds, the students, the parents, the society, the teachers. It involves a lot of human mindset, and that could be the complication in any chain that can be brought in the in the field of education. You have to agree with me that whatever trends that we see in society today, the education trends that we see in society, is not created by a single person. It is not created by a single group of people. We have grown into it. As per the mindset of people, whatever we see today is because of the mindset of people. And how is the pedagogy going to be in the classrooms? What is the pedagogy that can be done that we can really accomplish this task of making one world, one family? This is what the three things which I'm going to quickly take you through that. The purpose of education, the very purpose of education, is to bring a transformation in the child sitting in the classroom. I don't think there can be any other thing that the purpose of education is about. Our Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda says, if there is no change happens to a child after going through the education, please do not call it education. Please do not call that institution as an educational institution. The very purpose of education, the one and only aim of education, is to bring a transformation in the child. So that is being the purpose of education. And if we say that has to be transformed, what is to be transformed? Our goal is there, creating one world, one family. What is to be done? What should be transformed? We should help children to break all identifications. Swamiji put it so beautifully that we all are, having our own limitations. Identifications are there in ourselves. Identity as a gender identity. I'm a color, status, language, race, religion, and so on and so forth. So many identities are created. There's a single line that separates one human from another because he belongs to that. I keep visiting this part of the world. I'm right now in US, and I see that the people thinking even different here. When you see that the way the people think here is so different, how are we going to expose that to the children? Many of our children go abroad to study and all of that. Either they become completely westernized, drop their own culture, or they completely criticize the other culture. So how do we do that? How do we achieve that barriers are removed? And so beautifully he gave the Adi Shankaracharya shlokam on that. We are having the religion, caste, all these barriers are created among ourselves. How do we break that? Only when you are able to do that, we can make children see the fellow human beings and also what is the created, not just the creator, also the what is being created, what is to be transformed. We have to remove these barriers in our mind, and there isn't created barriers which are there in all our mind that has to be. So what should we do? The pedagogy should bring in the appreciation for other culture, the beliefs, the languages, and the best practices across the globe has to be brought inside the classroom. The global perspective has to be brought inside the classroom. Even NEP 2020 talks about introducing languages. They say children should be allowed to learn languages like French, Latin, Germany, and other whatever languages possible. Children should be encouraged to learn, only to open up the child's mind, only to open up the barriers in the mind of the child that my language is good. This is what, my country, my language, my state. From coming out of that, it's something very, very important how to do that. And for that, a crucial and a critical factor is the teacher development programs. All teacher development programs have to be diverted. While you're teaching mathematics, how can you bring the global perspectives? If you're teaching about recycling, how do you bring in the global perspectives, how the other countries are doing? What are the best practices across the country? What about the language facilities, the digital skills, how they are done, handled in other countries? This has to be brought up inside the classroom. And who will do it? A teacher has to do it. So the teacher development is of utmost importance here. Only then we can understand that. And also another thing is the classroom teaching not just be experiential teaching. We are doing a lot of experiential teaching to children today, these days, after the CCE and all of that, but it should become reflective in nature. Children should be given quite time for themselves to contemplate on what they are hearing about it and for them to decide. It's not about to glorify India is doing this, India is the best. It's about children to get facts and then they decide, they develop, and they develop a love for the nation, they'll develop a pride for the nation. So reflection time should be provided in all the classrooms so that children just understand in his own way to appreciate other the aspects of other countries and other things. And human values like humility, reverence, kindness, respect for living and non-living things, compassion should be nurtured not only through a value education period. It should be through academic and non-academic subjects, through music, through art forms. C.I.R.S did a beautiful dance festival where they did the dance, the dance styles of different countries. So non-academic subjects, art forms, music, sports, Swamiji mentioned it, through sport, media. If media needs to be done, children should be able to develop such kind of stuff in the media so that they are able to see this oneness among everything in the health thing. Values can only shape the character. Only with strong character we can dream of making a global citizen. And last point is the mindset of people. This says it in Bhagavad Gita, yad yad acharati shreshtaha tatyateva tarojanaha. He says, whatever a great man does, the other men also follow it. So at least children today need role models, which if at all we have to convince, parents have to be convinced about what is given in the school. A mindset that is being nurtured in the classroom, the seminars like this, forums like this, to communicate to the parents what is being done, what is the global perspective that is being done, and at least people mindset should change. Otherwise we'll still be going around and round about it, talking a lot about it, will not get implemented about. do anything about it. So the mindset of people should change to understand what the country wants, what the country is heading towards. Otherwise, we'll be going through crimes and suicides, and the media doing nonsense and showing it to the children. All that will be going again and again. Only when people decide this will not be allowed in my country, this will not be allowed. So this is something very, very important. The mindset of people and the teachers. The teachers need to know while teaching mathematics how I can change. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Only mark oriented or examination oriented. I need to go towards this higher perspective. And something I would like to end with is saying that the apara and the paravidya in our ancient education system, Swamiji said it so beautifully, this belonged to us. It's a Bharatiya thought that paravidya is said to be the superior knowledge, that of the absolute. Aparavidya is the lower knowledge, knowledge of the external world, which can be attained and experienced through senses. Our ancient education system did practice it not few years ago or 100 years ago, thousands of years ago. So it has been practiced by our thing. I don't know how we lost it. We lost it and we are not able to get back to it. There is a talk about it in the national education policy in our own country to bring back the Indian rootedness, and people are wondering how to do it. I'm closely associated working with CBSE and NCRT and all of that. They're all wanting to know how to bring that back. They are worried about it, that what we lost. It belonged to us. This is a Bharatiya thought. What our Prime Minister has given this thought. It's a Bharatiya thought. It belonged to us. We can do it only when a group of people get together and understand this is the most important thing. Only then we can do it. The last slide, I would like to show you what we should do about it. The beautiful, like Swamiji mentioned it, that the Upanishad has been laid open for the other 20 nations across the country. And how are we going to take it forward? India should frame a structured, value-based global curriculum and share it with all the G20 nations. And structured teacher development programs and trainings for the same also should be compiled and shared with the thing. Because our strength is values. Our strength is values. India is being looked up by the other countries as how did we get into yoga? How our countries got into yoga? Think about it. It was not there 10, 15 years ago. The last decade, all the countries have started practicing yoga. The same way, we should penetrate into their system and show them how to value-based education can be provided in the classrooms. Countries, of course, can customize the same by adding global flavor, local flavor to it, and part of all educational policies across the globe, this should be entered. And Chinmaya Mission should offer that support so that it will be a true dedication to our Puja Gurudev. We can and we must. Thank you so much.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Sagar Sreenath Bhashyam, who is the Senior Audit Manager at Standard Chartered Bank in Singapore. Mr. Bhashyam's life has been very interesting thus far. After studying zoology in his undergraduation from University of Madras, he went on to acquire a diploma in software engineering. He then chose to complete his chartered accountancy. Later, he graduated in business administration. He has been associated with the banking industry for over 20 years. Now, with experiences in handling corporate client relationships across various markets, he specializes in risk, governance, and internal audit. Over these years, Mr. Bhashyam has traveled extensively on work for personal reasons to many countries belonging to the developed North and the developing Global South. During these travels, he has had the opportunity to interact closely with people from these countries, including experiencing their unique cultures. During such travels, Mr. Bhashyam ensures he visits the local museums to better understand the local history, customs, and practices. Besides his work, Mr. Bhashyam has diverse areas of interest ranging from human history, philosophies, religions, geopolitics, economic models, archaeology, and architecture, including temple architecture. His holiday travels typically cover major ancient historical sites across the world, which include Hampi in India, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, Suzhou in China, to name a few. Mr. Bhashyam firmly believes that the concept of Dharma and the practices of earth-revering traditions around the world will help him offer sustainable solutions for solving challenges faced by humans today. While he considers himself a student on the topic of Dharma, Mr. Bhashyam intends to speak on these sub-themes as part of the C20 initiative, more as a banker and an avid traveler by highlighting his experiences of the interconnectedness in the various cultures across the world. Over to you, Mr. Bhashyam. Thank you.
Hari Om. Namaskaram, everybody. Thank you so much for that introduction. Let me start sharing my screen, and hopefully it's kind of visible there. Yep. Thank you all. So let me start. So as a parent of C.I.R.S student and a speaker, I try to kind of now in the next few slides unpack the concept of Dharma and keep it as simple as I can with the idea that we have audience who are kind of children and also commoners like me attending this evening. Before I kind of proceed on this, I'd like to obviously caveat the fact that I'm presenting and sharing these in my personal capacity, and the views expressed are purely my own, not of that of the school or the mission, Chinmaya mission, or any other organization. So with that, let me just quickly start off. So I intend to kind of cover the topic with in these kind of sub themes or subtopics, if I may kind of say so. In terms of the global order, what the key drivers are, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I'll just kind of briefly explain that, which has already been touched upon by Swamiji earlier and by Shanti ma'am. The concept of Dharma. Then I will move on to the Earth Revering traditions. How the concept of Dharma within the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can actually provide a framework to offer sustainable solutions for all of us. And as I cover this, I will also try and share some of my experiences, as I visited some of the different countries and experienced different cultures, and give some suggested initiatives, if I may use the word there. So let me just quickly move on to the next slide. Yeah, as we can see here, the current global order, just a second, please. My screen has got, yeah, the global world order today is largely focused on driving economic growth, which encourages overconsumption. We can see changing food patterns, food in terms of patterns on food consumption, the way material possessions are being prioritized, leading to cluttered lives and spaces, leads to resource depletion, abuse of nature. Countries and societies that have resources, technology skills continue to grow economically, leading to growing disparities, which in turn are leading to mistrust among societies, countries, resulting in geopolitical tensions, conflicts, and wars. Consequently, countries are investing in building larger military instead of focusing on eliminating poverty, global hunger, fighting climate change. Poorer countries are experiencing civil wars, while there is also a growing threat from terrorism to global peace. Most of you are kind of largely familiar. I'll move on. This slide is obviously to highlight a few areas impacted by human activity on the planet in just the last 260 years, say from the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in 1750s. This slide, I just want to kind of leave it there for a few seconds. Want us all to reflect on the kind of planet and ecosystems that we are passing on to our children and for the future generations. In terms of having polluted rivers, oceans, air, soil, extreme weather events are becoming a common feature these days. Habitat loss, mass extinctions, resource depletion, and of course, climate change. Moving on, prioritizing economic growth has of course resulted in increased material comforts, improved healthcare, easy travel, to name a few. However, let's remember this growth model has resulted in growing disparity between the rich and the poor, leading to increased stress levels, suicide rates, social crime, civil wars, dysfunctional families, and societies focusing on profit over human lives. This was obviously evidenced during the pandemic when some of the pharma companies in the West prioritized selling vaccines for hefty profits, which could not have been afforded by many countries from the global South. Millions in these countries died just because of lack of access to vaccines. India, of course, was the outlier by donating vaccines to poorer countries for free. This leaves us to wonder whether all this economic growth has actually led to greater unhappiness in most countries. To me, the key drivers for human thought and behavior are linked to their value systems, which are hugely influenced by the narratives they are exposed to. These narratives are impacted by the overarching philosophies and ideologies, which also are influenced by the religious thought and their objectives. Moving on, in this slide, I've tried to kind of unpack and, of course, to an extent, oversimplify all major philosophies of the world into two buckets, the Western and the Eastern, and to highlight their key differences. Idea here is not to judge. We, however, need to be mindful here that the global world order that we are kind of experiencing has largely adopted the Western philosophy, and we have just discussed the impact it's had on the planet and on our societies. This hopefully makes it easy for us, especially our children, to understand and reflect. Moving on, the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and how it kind of potentially could offer solutions is what I'm trying to just highlight on the slide. This obviously is a message that comes from the Maha Upanishad, as the Swami and also Shanti ma'am just explained. One of the key points that I want to kind of also highlight as part of the slide is the fact that as a concept, this actually resonates beautifully and really well with most of the native cultures across the world. To name a few, we have Hongik Igyan as a Korean tradition culture where people view one another as members of one large extended family. In the Native Americas, they viewed nature as something we live within and as part of it. They practiced what is known as animism, which believes in the existence of spirit in both the living and non-living things. Ubuntu in the African philosophy places emphasis on being self through others, or in other words, collectivism over individualism. I have experienced this during one of my travels to Kenya, where I happened to visit a village near Nairobi and noticed something quite unique. An NGO had organized a running event for the kids in the village, with the kids coming first, winning a prize. To the organizers' surprise, these kids formed a chain holding their hands in a circle and walked together to touch the prize. When asked why they behaved so, the kids responded saying, "How can we be happy if we don't share and others are unhappy?" Yeah, this kind of beautifully resonates and of course made me realize that these kids were truly living the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Moving on, Dharma as a concept and how it is kind of perceived is what I'm trying to kind of highlight in this slide. It is largely perceived by many Indians and others as being righteousness, being religious, and fulfilling moral duties. However, the true meaning and the essence of Dharma is all more encompassing and inclusive. Dharma comes from the Sanskritam or the Sanskrit word dharate, which means to uphold or in being authentic in fulfilling our responsibilities. Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita explains the concept of Dharma to Arjuna at two levels. One, at the physical or the bodily level, and two, at the soul or the Atma level. He in fact goes on to clarify that the Dharma for a common woman or man is to first uphold and fulfill their responsibilities at the physical level, that is, their responsibilities to their families, societies, and the country before embarking on the path to serve God. True Dharma, therefore, for each living and non-living form is quite unique, different, and is always authentic. This, therefore, preserves the balance in the nature and thereby on the planet. Explaining Dharma using simple examples here, I've tried in the slide. The Dharma for a flower is to be attractive, so it can attract the attention of a bee or an insect to help in pollination. Similarly, the Dharma for a bee is to collect nectar from all the flowers and create honey for the queen bee. Yeah, water. Water's dharma is to be the medium for life on this planet, quench thirst, keep us cool. These are some of the qualities that actually make us kind of attract to water. The dharma for fire is to provide heat, light, and kind of burn things. Let's just imagine for a while that the flowers are no more attractive. Yeah. Attractive to the bees, not to humans. Flowers' job is not to be attractive to humans. That's something we perceive incorrectly. It's actually to make them attractive to the bees and insects. Let's say the honeybees stop collecting nectar to make honey. Let's say water becomes completely lifeless. Fire does not produce any heat or light. Just imagine that situation. That would obviously cause a huge imbalance in our nature, isn't it? With that in the context, what should be the dharma for human beings? Supposedly the most intelligent, having a conscious mind, and the most evolved species on this planet. The essence of dharma for humans can be summarized into 3 key points. Firstly, to fulfill responsibilities towards their families, their society, the nation they live, and of course, to the planet or the nature in the most authentic way. Instances where one's dharma towards any of these are in loggerheads or in conflict, then obviously the precedence needs to go to the to nature, and from there on to nation, society, and family. This explains reason why people in leadership or positions of power are expected to put the societal national interest higher than that of their families. Lord Rama is considered the pinnacle for truly living the dharma of a king, which is Rajadharma, and hence is revered by millions to this day. The concept of dharma encourages humans to also overcome 3 basic emotions, which is greed, lust, and anger. Helps also humans to recognize the divinity in not just the creator, but also in all living forms and the sacredness in the life-sustaining elements, the water, land, air, fire, and also non-living forms such as rivers, mountains, etc. Consequently, human activity on the planet will largely be harmonious with nature and in fact be able to preserve it. So in summary, dharma as a concept has nothing to do with religion. It is actually truly a way of life. Moving on, the concept of dharma was embedded in societies across ancient India or Bharat through the Chaturvarna system and the Panchamas. The Varna system was adopted for people living in the plains and involved stratification of people into 4 key groups based on their skills or profession into Kshatriyas or the warriors, the Brahmins or the teachers and priests, the Vaishyas, the traders, and the Shudras, the peasants. The system offered complete flexibility for people to move from one group to another and was never rigid in its true form. People living in the forests, mountains, and hills were not included in the Varna system because they cracked the code for living in harmony with nature. These landscapes are truly fragile and critical from an ecological standpoint and hence warranted protection, which the Panchamas provided. In fact, by attributing sacredness to the rivers, forests, and mountains, these landscapes were revered and thus protected. Revering nature is something that is quite common with a lot of native cultures. This slide, I'm just trying to kind of highlight some of the practices and some of the native traditions in terms of revering earth. Some of you are already aware, earth revering traditions are not unique to Bharat. These traditions were extensively practiced across many ancient and native cultures across the world. In fact, these traditions continue to be practiced in certain parts of the world to this day, such as the Amazon rainforest, Native American tribes in the US, Brazil, the Maasai tribes in the Africa, Australian Bushmen, and in a few islands across South Asia. Commercial activities such as mining, logging of trees, etc., attract protests from people living in these areas. let's not forget the Chipko movement that I think happened in the 1970s, when women from the forests in the then Uttar Pradesh and now Uttarakhand formed human chains around trees to protect them from commercial logging. This obviously forced the government of the day to pass a law banning commercial logging from reserved forests. More recently, the tribes in Ecuador protested against the government's planned bill to allow oil drilling in the Amazon rainforest. A local court ruled in favor of the protesting tribes. Tribes in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil continue to protest against commercial logging even to this day. Moving on, there are currently efforts underway to find alternative growth models and solutions to course correct. This includes efforts by leaders from major religions to bring collaborative action to build peace and address other challenges. There are multilateral organizations like the United Nations, Organization of Economic Cooperation, IMF, World Bank, established since the Second World War to promote economic development, reduce social disparities, and assist in providing financial support. Select governments and NGOs across the world are also taking initiatives to promote sustainable development models and invest in necessary technologies. This includes few developed countries such as the US, European Union, Japan, China, and a few developing countries led by India, Indonesia. However, there is a need to build trust amongst the various countries, create solutions that are inclusive, sustainable, build consensus, and collaborate to invest necessary resources. This should help us course correct. This is where I believe India, as the president of G20, has a unique opportunity to lead this initiative. Moving on, in this slide, I've kind of put together 4 core objectives that we as the president of G20 could kind of highlight and call upon all other countries to kind of support and collaborate. First pillar is education. This is obviously to embed the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in curriculums across not just India, across the world, both the West and the East. Growth models will have to be revisited to ensure there is moderation and balance with ecology, its revival. Development models should be aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Native cultures across the world that are earth revering should be protected, including their spaces. The highlighted, as highlighted earlier, the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is not just part of India. These are actually a concept is practiced across native cultures in different countries, and hence actually is part of our subconscious minds. These objectives that we are kind of calling out here would obviously resonate with most of the countries, and hence I would expect support from most of the countries as we propose this. And moving on, as initiatives that I would suggest for us as the president of G20, using the G20 as a global platform, India should therefore initiate 3 key highlighted initiatives. First one is to build consensus on the objectives discussed earlier with all relevant stakeholders, which should include leaders of major countries, their governments, key religious leaders of the world. The objective obviously is to build and have ownership at a grassroots level for effective implementation. Secondly, to compensate countries to protect earth revering traditions and their spaces. An example of this would be to compensate countries such as Brazil, Ecuador, to protect the Amazon rainforest from commercial exploitation. Thirdly, to engage with countries in conflict to de-escalate, build trust, and resolve conflicts. Case in point here would obviously be Russia and the US, China, and of course, India as well as we speak. Yeah, I think that wraps up my presentation. Thank you all so much for hearing and for this opportunity. Considering the time constraints, I'm happy to take any questions after the session. Hari Om.
India, home of 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions, and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity, and as the fifth largest economy in the world, India is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. Lotus, the national flower of India, representing our culture, history, and heritage. A poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. And the inspiration for India's G20 logo design. The design, rendered in saffron, white, green, and blue, is drawn from the national flag of India. The 7 petals in the logo signify the 7 seas and the coming together of 7 continents at G20 India 2023. Sitting above the lotus is a representation of the earth, reflecting India's pro-planet approach to life and seeing the world as one family. From this, we derive the theme for G20 India 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. A theme that brings the G20's focus on shared global growth, while being in harmony with nature. G20 India 2023. One earth, one family, one future.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
It's indeed an opportunity and a sense of pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Santosh K. Misra. Mr. Santosh K. Misra, a former I.A.S, works in the areas of emerging technology and public policy. He has a deep technological background and holds over 25 years of work experience. He has authored India's first safe and ethical AI policy and co-authored India's first blockchain policy for Tamil Nadu. He is recognized as a global innovation and technology thought leader. His qualification stands at par with his achievements. He has an MS from University of Minnesota, USA, and BTech from IIT Kanpur with specialization in digital signal processing and communication technology. He has received various certifications pertaining to his area of interest from Stanford, Harvard, and Duke University. At present, he is leading the PwC consultancy engagement with the Financial Intelligence Unit and Central Board of Indirect Taxes. He has also remained a visiting faculty in IIM Trichy and IIM Visakhapatnam. He is a regular speaker on AI and blockchain on global forums such as Global Development Network, Global Blockchain Business Council, International Association of Trusted Blockchain Application, and on many EU and WEF forums. He is a holder of 3 patents on VLSI design granted by the US Patent and Trademark Office. We welcome you, sir, and thank you for gracing the meet for a noble and knowledgeable cause.
Thank you, ma'am, for a very generous introduction, and Hari Om and good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Santosh, go ahead. We can hear you.
So privileged to be here. मुझे business और economy पे बोलने का आदेश हुआ है, so I'll follow that order and wanted to share some thoughts on business climate and economy in India. And I think while in the inaugural session, Swami Mitranandji was speaking and he spoke about how India was the world leader in terms of global share of economy. I thought it will be a good starting point from there. Let me I have a small presentation also. So we'll start from there. My screen, I presume, is visible.
Yes, Santosh.
Thank you. So I have about 15 minutes. I will try to wrap it up within that time. So I think there has been a narrative on Indian economy, and there was a term used for Indian economy, Hindu rate of growth, as if Hindus are born to be behind everything and their growth cannot be more than 2%, 3%, and that is how our growth rate was characterized in early 50s and 60s. There's a whole narrative of, thankfully, because of now after COVID and when the world is hitting a recession and came into high inflation rates, now there is a little bit of recognition, but otherwise it was always a narrative saying India is a poor country, illiterate, backward, uneducated, cow worshippers and whatnot. And I thought there is an interesting video. I don't know if that is visible, which shows how the GDP of the world has changed over the years. Is the video visible?
No, Santoshji, video is not
Okay.
visible.
Santosh, make it a full screen, right? First.
Yeah. Can you see the video now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see the video, but
so this is a demonstration from first AD till today, how the economies of the countries, their respective sizes, top 15 economies of the world. And as you can see, India used to account for almost quarter of the world GDP in those times. And this continued till about the time when we started facing invasion. We started having Britishers open a trading post here and started plundering in some sense the country. And this, I'm not going to play the whole video because it's pretty long. It's about 5 minutes. But if you can see, till about 1400s, India was still the second largest economy. And that's when I think around 1800 is when UK started prospering. And you can see the third position is UK, second position is India. And UK started prospering at the cost of Indian economy because they were just plundering everything from here. So, and then of course we started going down in early 1900s, and the whole equation kind of changed. China, UK came on top, Italy started moving up, Germany, France, and everyone came on top. Now, thankfully, I think I'll stop this.
No. The presentation is closed, Santosh.
Yeah. So is my slide visible again?
Yes.
Okay. So this was something I wanted to show. This was very recently when India overtook in terms of population China's population. It is very recent. About a week ago, this is one of the famous newspapers in Germany, Der Spiegel, probably their equivalent of Times of India, and they brought and published this cartoon, which has racism written all over it. If you remember, when the Mars mission was, India had sent a Mars mission. This is the cartoon which was published in New York Times. And India knocking at the door of elite space club with a cow, Indian farmer with a cow in the toe. This prejudice runs very, very strong, and there are deliberate attempts to keep this narrative alive. What I showed in the video is can be seen here also. This is a graph of how Indian economy over the years has changed. I mean, the world economic composition has changed. So India, China, Japan, and how their contribution. So if you look at it towards the very end, this is up till 2017. The space of India is expanding. China is, of course, already expanded. US is shrinking, and the rest of the countries. There is a very interesting narrative that sometimes it is, I'm appalled when I see and talk to some very educated people. They say, oh, Britishers, they came and did so much good for us. They made this country into one. They brought in railways, they brought in electrification, they brought modern education. I would urge all of you to read this book called The Case for India. A historian from US, Bill Durant, visited India in 1930. He was writing a series of books called History of Civilization. And you can't write History of Civilization without actually understanding civilization of India. And in that process, he visited India in 1930. And what he saw, he abandoned that original project, rather put a stop to that original project for a while, and actually wrote a book called Case for India. It's very illustrative, and we should all read this. He said that the British administration has destroyed people, school, industry, and wealth in this nation. The British conquest of India, and I'll read from his book. The British conquest of India was the invasion and destruction of a high civilization by a trading company, utterly without scruple or principles, careless of art and greedy of gain, overrunning with fire and sword a country temporarily disordered and helpless, bribing and murdering, annexing and stealing, and beginning their career of illegal and legal plunder, which has now gone on ruthlessly for about 173 years. When Britishers came, there is an argument that education was given by Britishers. There was a huge system of communal schools, community schools, village schools. And he writes in his book, which is the second paragraph, there are now 730,000 villages and only 162,000 primary schools. Only 7% of the boys and 4% of the girls receive schooling. And they are not free. And he says that this number is still far short of what India had. Education spent on per capita at that time was 8 cents versus 38 cents, which is being spent on army, for example. Gopal Krishna Gokhale in 1911 introduced a bill for universal compulsory primary education in India, which was opposed and defeated by the British government. And the entire focus moved away from primary education to the college education. And the purpose of college education, and the money was being spent there, and the purpose of college education, he writes in his book, is that, and I would like to read again from this paragraph, where the language used was English, the history, literature, customs, and morals taught were English, and young Hindus, after striving amid poverty to prepare themselves for college, found that they had merely let themselves in for a ruthless process that aimed to denationalize and de-Indianize them and turn them into imitative Englishmen. This was the policy, this was the contribution. Alcohol was promoted by British administration. $60 million was revenue. 7 times the revenue grew in 40 years. It was 3 times the education expenditure. This is a quote from Warren Hastings. He says, the temperance of people is demonstrated in simplicity of their food and their total abstinence from spirituous liquors and other substances of intoxication. And he took it upon himself to introduce alcohol and promote opium. 12% of government revenue actually came from opium. 4 lakh acres were dedicated to growing opium. 7,000 shops were opened. This is all in his book, and I would strongly recommend everyone to read this. Britishers manufactured famines in this country. This was the biggest Holocaust ever experienced in this world. 25 million people died of starvation from 1770 to 1900. We are taught a history which is all sugar-coated. 50% was taken away of produce was taken away by the Britishers to fill their coffers. I'm running short on time, so I got to run. Trade was distorted. Indian manufacturing was discouraged. The country, Britishers had control over import duty of India and import duty of UK. Import duty in UK was 80%. Import duty in India was 0%. And you would understand what happens in the trade and what will happen to the industry. Railways, interestingly enough, 1/3 of the revenue of the railways came from third-class ticket sales. It was running in losses. Anyway, this is today, India is $3.7 trillion economy in nominal terms, 5th largest, in PPP terms, 3rd largest. The growth has been phenomenal. I'm not going to really talk about this. The whole economic structure of India is changing. I'll take another 2-3 minutes and then close. UNCTAD did a study of digital readiness index of various countries. India stands somewhere in the blue region here, which is they are one of the middle and upper middle ranked countries in terms of their digital transformation, and which we are seeing. There is a project which has been launched, a very ambitious project by this government called BharatNet, which has an objective of connecting every village panchayat with 1 Gbps fiber optic link. 40% of the work is over. 400 million new bank accounts have been opened based on JAM, which is Jandhan, Aadhaar, and mobile. So every 1.3 billion mobile connections are there. One of the cheapest data rates. The entire data consumed in India is more than China and US put together. UPI has been a roaring success. The world is wanting to copy and looking at us with awe in their eyes. These numbers are old. UPI does $1.5 trillion worth of transactions every year. 40% of any transaction, digital financial transactions anywhere in the world happen in India. There's a National Digital Health Mission. There's AI, blockchain. They have an aim of becoming a $5 trillion economy by 25, $1 trillion of digital economy. And I think we are doing it very well. As I said, CoWIN has been a platform which no other country could produce in the middle of Corona crisis. A CoWIN-like platform which actually tracked every single vaccine which was given to the citizens. GST and IT filing, 2 lakh crores is a collection in GST networks today. Massive investment in infrastructure, IT infrastructure, physical infrastructure, airports, connectivity. I mean, you have airports popping up all over the country. Udan scheme. You have airports in Pasighat, in Tejpur. All these remote areas of the country are getting connected. Unicorns. One of the things which the West takes a huge pride on, IT sector. India has in 2020, $195 billion of contribution by IT sector, $150 billion of worth of export. 4 million people are employed. There was a long criticism that the IT sector actually caters to their service only. They don't have products. And I think Zoho and Freshworks have proved people wrong. They have become a giant in CRM space, one of the biggest and key. The talent is not in English. And it was referred to by Shanti Krishnamurthy madam also in her talk, saying that NEP focuses on learning languages and learning in native language in your mother tongue, actually. I'll skip this part, and I think unicorns I wanted to briefly touch upon. India is now third in terms of unicorn. Unicorns are the companies which are valued for more than $1 billion. The whole startup culture in India is just mind-boggling right now. The name of the startups, some of you may know, some of you may not know. These are, as I said, right behind US and China. Third is India's unicorns. UPI, as I said, a runaway success. Massive amount of global digital transactions are happening on this. UPI is going global. It has Singapore, UAE. That's the power of Indian economy. So we need to understand what has been done wrong to us, recognize that, recognize our strengths, and move forward. So thank you very much. That's all I had to share. I hope it was useful to you.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
The following speaker is Smt.Jayasree Krishnan, mother of former C.I.R.S student Ojas Krishnan. Smt.Jayasree has done a BSc and PG DCS, Associate of the Insurance Institute of India. At the tender age of 19, she began her career as a primary teacher. Additionally, she has taught mathematics, physics, and chemistry for classes 8 to 10 at a school in Vijayawada. She has then worked in railways for a little while. Eventually, she relocated to the Life Insurance Corporation of India, where she served in various capacities like branch head, marketing head, faculty position, training employees, manager customer relations, and divisional manager of LIC India. Meanwhile, she has been involved as a volunteer in the eco-restoration projects of the Isha Foundation, Project Green Hands, Kaveri Calling, and Save Soil initiatives. She has volunteered and raised funds for the cost of planting around 10,000 saplings, which speaks about her passion for environmental rehabilitation. By collecting and planting of quality saplings, raising funds, and creating awareness of soil conservation, she remains connected to nature. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to invite Smt.Jayasree Krishnan to inspire the like-minded individuals on this platform.
Thank you, ma'am. Swami Mitranaji, a national coordinator of C20 Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, esteemed speakers, dear Shanti ma'am, Rajeshri ma'am, respected faculty of CIRS, parents, invited guests, and my dear students. Hari Om and Namaskar. Before I begin my presentation, I thank Team CIRS and Rajeshwari ma'am for giving me the opportunity to present my views on the theme of ecology and regenerative development. Without further ado, let me begin. Truth of existence is simply aligned with our ancient wisdom of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, meaning one earth, one family, one future, and this remains our guiding principle as we seek to promote unity and harmony in the world. Today, science has proved that all universe is one single energy and existence of singularity. That is, all living beings share the same source of energy, which means we are all interconnected and interdependent. So every action that one takes, however insignificant, will have a ripple effect that impacts the entire world. The C20 Summit 2022 also has emphasized the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, as global solidarity is required to find and implement solutions to current macro and global challenges. We are all part of the same global community, and therefore we should no longer fear our differences, but should celebrate them, collaborate instead of compete, to move towards a mutually beneficial society. What is joint family system if not for Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam at a smaller level? I come from a joint family. This concept of joint family system in India forms our ethos and value systems, as Swami Mitrananda said. Many generations live under the same roof, all bound by the same common relationship. Here, we take care of our elders in their old age, thus giving them security and peace of mind. This presentation on ecology and regenerative development is grounded on the above foundation. Ecology is the study of relationship between living, non-living things and their environment. Ecology enriches our world and is crucial for human well-being and prosperity, providing new knowledge of the interdependence between people and nature that is vital for food production, maintenance of clean air and water, and sustaining biodiversity in a changing climate. Now let's come to regenerative development. Regeneration is the natural process of replacing or restoring damaged or missing cells, tissues, organs, and even entire body parts to full function in plants and animals. The aim of regeneration is to enable communities that have suffered from economic, social, and environmental decline to work again. Effective regeneration can unlock numerous social, economic, and cultural benefits in your area and beyond. Development, not growth, should be our goal. As Russell Lakoff put it, growth is an increase in size or number, whereas development is an increase in competence, which is the ability to satisfy one's need and desires and those of others. Growth is only a matter of earning, whereas development is a matter of learning. Regenerative development is an approach that encourages communities to support and create positive relationships that will benefit society and our environments by allowing the system to evolve and adapt to changing circumstances. Regenerative development will also embrace uncertainty and change. Practices in sustainable or green design have focused primarily on minimizing damage to the environment and human health and improve efficient usage of resources. Regenerative development seeks not only to reverse the degeneration of the Earth's natural systems, but also to design and improve human systems that can co-evolve with this. When the processes are done diligently and with due care, it will result in more rainforests, more fertile soils, more restocked fisheries with a cleaner atmosphere. Do I need to talk more about the importance of fertile and evergreen fields? An interesting example here would be sustainable agriculture, which refers to a process of producing food that does not degrade the ecosystems on which agriculture depends, but seeks to farm in ways that keeps soil erosion at replacement levels, meaning the future generations will be able to farm the same land. Save Soil movement by Isha Foundation is an example towards this. The latest improvement on sustainability is the concept of zero emissions. So we don't produce just enough waste to not overwhelm nature, but the goal is to produce our goods and services in a way that there are no waste and the byproducts or outputs of one process become the inputs of another process. Take the example of crop rotation. A crop with heavy nitrogen demanding plants are grown in rotation with low nitrogen demanding crops. Corn, maize can be followed by growing legumes on the same field. Some more examples where all individuals at home should and can contribute to regenerative development and protection of nature are composting first. This is a simple example of regenerative living, which turns dirt into nutrient-rich soil that better serves us and our environment. Food scraps and packaging boxes work together to turn trash into treasure in a compost bin. Separating wet waste and dry waste and then dealing with them appropriately is another step taken by us in protection of environment and regeneration of waste. Next, we can focus on wearing clothes made from natural materials only, which will sustain the farmers growing natural materials. Example, raw silk, cotton, etc. To increase water retention and reduce soil erosion even in our home gardens, we can let weeds grow carefully and systematically in the pathways of our gardens. Organic farming can be practiced as the plants will utilize the variety of nutrients over the months. This can also sustain biodiversity. Like the penny saved is penny earned, as constantly harped by my father. Existing resource saved is resource regenerated. Example here, when using tissues, paper napkins, don't use more than what is actually required, because the more softer tissues you want, the more number of trees have to be cut to make them. Even school children can consciously help towards this. Next is the role of homemakers. Homemakers have a bigger role to play in saving our soil. Every kitchen scrap and vegetable peels that come from the soil should go back into the soil in our gardens, backyards, to retain the richness and nutrients of the soil. Recycled water can be used to water the gardens. Next is the reduction of carbon footprints. Vehicle users can help reduce carbon emissions by consciously using only unleaded petrol and restricting the number of automobiles in a family by carpooling. Our earlier generations and lifestyles were inherently regenerative and respectful towards Mother Nature. Mr. Sagar Sreenath, in his beautiful presentation, has spoken in detail about this and also our ethos and also about the optimum utilization of resources. Regenerative development is the future and not restricted to just agriculture. Every problem confronting global society can be approached through the regenerative development model. The global corporations, cities, nations, NGOs, and private citizens all need to work together in getting what the world wants. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, how can we solve this problem in such a way that we improve the capacity of the underlying support systems? How can we develop our economy in ways that make our life support systems stronger and more resilient? Are our systems increasing the efficiency of the available resources? Conscious living, right thinking, and practices should start from home. Let us show our children that right action alone will bring right outcomes. From the beginning, we should be their role models to show them how to think rather than what to think. Small example would be, it makes no sense to try to eliminate deadly and debilitating diseases from just the developed countries and not eliminate them from rest of the world. Investments in renewable energy, affordable healthcare, and universal education should be focused on. The long term is the framework from which we must operate for the entire world to become more secure, stable, and safe for everyone. For any solution to be robust, regenerative, and development-oriented, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the best approach. Let's take the global approach where the strong helps and protects the weak. No child, no individual, no family unit should be left behind in this model. Inclusiveness is the only approach to the challenges we face. As we speak of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we should remember the timely help done by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji towards supply of COVID vaccines to various, even developed countries as needed. India's monetary aid for countries like Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar, Maldives, Bangladesh, and Mauritius is another example of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, where we see the strong taking care of the less strong. If this is not Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, then what is? Regenerative development is a winning solution where there will be renewable and clean supplies of energy, thus lessening global warming. More with less is to be the design ethic. Regenerative development uses an ideal vision of the future to organize the resources needed to achieve it. The next generation's world will be richer in every other way, and implementation of solutions easy in a global family of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I would now like to end my presentation with a fervent appeal to one and all of you from this moment onwards to mark every happy moment in the family, any celebration, a festival. Let's plant and nurture a sapling in our homes, schools, public spaces like parks, roadside gardens. When you want to give something to a loved one, please remember to give only saplings and see that they are also planted. If you don't get saplings in the last moment, give seeds instead. We can always keep a stock of saplings and seeds at home to use them like this whenever needed. Let's christen this C.I.R.S. C20 green cover movement and make this a big success. Thank you one and all. Hari Om.
गए 3 दिन बीत बोले राम सकोप तब भय बिन होए न प्रीत विनय न मानत जल्दी जड़ गए 3 दिन बीत बोले राम सकोप तब भय बिन होए न प्रीत 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 हरे राम 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 हरे राम 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 हरे राम 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 हरे राम त्रिभुवन में सर्वत्र तुम्हीं विस्तार कौन नापे तुम क्रोध में जब आ जाओ तो ब्रह्मांड सकल कांपे ओ त्रिभुवन में सर्वत्र तुम्हीं विस्तार कौन नापे तुम क्रोध में जब आ जाओ तो ब्रह्मांड सकल कांपे तुम्हें जावे त्रिपुरारी गावे महिमा तुम्हारी तुम हो दिव्य सकल गुण धाम नीलवर्ण धनुधारी प्रभु अवध बिहारी तुमसे बड़ा है तुम्हारा नाम जय श्री राम जय श्री राम जय श्री राम जय श्री राम तुम घट घट के वासी रघुकुल नंदन जय श्री राम असुर निकंदन जय श्री राम भव्य भंजन जय श्री राम शत शत वंदन जय श्री राम रघुकुल नंदन जय श्री राम असुर निकंदन जय श्री राम भव्य भंजन जय श्री राम शत शत वंदन जय श्री राम 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 हरे राम 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 हरे राम 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 हरे राम 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 सुखकारी दुखहारी तुम पे जाऊं बलिहारी करूं भक्ति तुम्हारी निष्काम नीलवर्ण दानोधारी प्रभु अवध बिहारी तुमसे बड़ा है तुम्हारा नाम जय श्री राम 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 जय श्री राम
Hariom, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Smt.Sonal Misra, a highly respected and recognized Indian Police Service officer of the batch 2000. First, she served in Tamil Nadu as District Superintendent of Police and then as Deputy Commissioner of Police, where she has played a commendable role in crime control, maintenance of law and order, and police administration. It's there that she received a commendation certificate from the then Honorable Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha for outstanding detection in a sensational murder case. Then she moved to Naya Rajpur, where she served as Deputy Inspector General of Police at the police headquarters. After her service in Central Reserve Police Force as Deputy Inspector General, she was promoted to Inspector General in 2020. She has received various awards, including Police Medal for Meritorious Services from the Honorable President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, in the year 2016. She was conferred with Utkrisht Seva Patak in 2020. She also is a recipient of Deputy General's Commendation and Certificate for her stupendous service in March 2022 and also again in July 2022. She is married to an I.A.S. officer, Sri.Santosh Misra, and is the mother of 2 gifted children. Her educational qualification is M.Tech Electrical Engineering, and her personal interests are police administration, human resource management, urban policing, and much more. She has got an envious and inspiring professional track record, and I feel truly honored to introduce Smt.Sonal Misra. Over to her.
Hariom, Swamiji. Hariom, all guests connected to this unique initiative of the Chinmaya family. I am extremely privileged to be a part of this spiritual and educational family, the Chinmaya mission. And I'm extremely grateful and honored that I've been given an opportunity to interact with all the members of this great family. I have been given the topic of living oneness. And after all the esteemed speakers have spoken, I will try to bring in my perspective with this unique profession as a police officer and as IG of the Central Reserve Police Force, the various difficult areas that I have worked in. I would like to bring in a direct perspective of this beautiful concept of living oneness. So, dear friends, the basic principle or the basic theme or the idea of life is oneness. Although we all know this, that the start and the end is everything the same. However, our cognitive skills or our brain or our awareness, it is such that we notice or we perceive the differences very strongly. And everywhere, I mean, if we are seeing different colors, we see the perception is of difference. We see a crowd, we notice the differences. We go to any place, it is the cognitive skills. We are more tuned to noticing and remembering and identifying the differences, though the underlying truth is oneness. Coming to nature, the water cycle, the color white, it encompasses all colors. The energy, the flow of energy, it tells that the energy, the form is changing, but it is all one. The food chain, everything goes round in a food cycle, and somebody is a perpetrator, somebody is an attacker at a time, and somebody is at the receiving end at the other time. It is all sounding to that philosophy of oneness. So even when we in our philosophy, although we respect the individuality, we are always aware of our individual consciousness. A unique prayer that all of us are aware of is Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi. Now, what does this mean? For me, it means that, through this unique prayer of Aham Brahmasmi, we are actually bringing and invoking everything, the whole world. And we are realizing that we are part of this whole Brahmand. And Brahmand is all encompassing. Everyone of all colors, of all nations, of all life, all non-life, everything is a part of this, and we are very much a part of this. And I, Aham Brahmasmi, I am very much a part of this whole composition. Now, what happens when, as I mentioned, we are the differences, or when the true life situations come into play, into this beautiful underlying factor of oneness. So the true life situations are self-interest, lying over and above the community or the world or the human interest, lack of trust, because we are wanting to grow, we are wanting to achieve everything at any cost, and that is definitely at the cost of others. So, then there is this is the fact of life, that all these differences that we have, they manifest themselves at all important occasions in our life, and the differences try to dominate our thought process. And then what happens? Since as I mentioned, that being in the police, here comes the part when the differences take over, when they dominate the thought process. And then comes the conflict. The differences lead to conflict. And we see that across the world, there are so many conflict theaters. It is on the international level. You come down to a little narrower level. There are conflicts in families. There are conflicts between individuals. There are conflicts between nations, between states, between neighbors. So then, it is this self-drive, it is this self-interest, it is these differences that lead to this, that sow the seed of this conflict. And all across our history, we have seen the outcome of conflict has never been good. It is always a loss to several sides, yet the conflict prevails, and it prevails at various levels. I have had chances to visit various scenes of crime, to meet the perpetrators, to meet the victims, also sometimes meet them in the prisons where they are serving their sentences. I've had a chance to interrogate up close and personal some of the most dreaded criminals, some of Naxals who have waged war against the security forces, and terrorists. And let me tell you that once you interrogate them, once you talk to the perpetrators, what comes out is that actually, they are so much overwhelmed by that thought process that they have lost. They are equally regretful sometimes. They are equally in pain sometimes that their point or perspective has not been understood. Equally, the criminal, the one who is a victim, everyone. So it is, the outcome of this conflict, or the pain of this differences that we have. Once it crosses a level, then this is what we see. And it is extremely important that every time in our families, between the neighbors, between various institutions, in our professional lives, whenever there is differences, there should be this thought, there should be an attempt to highlight this oneness, to highlight or to bring people on a common communication platform, because there is always that scope of oneness. Everybody knows it. Even the most dreaded of people are aware that this what has happened is not good. But then They are doing it with their conviction and for some cause maybe, or out of just anger or desperation. So it is very important that this part of a conversation on oneness, so much very important topic of oneness, is not lost in this entire struggle and for achievement and for success in life. And I really feel that amidst all the identities, Swami Mitranandaji spoke at the beginning, that we are lost in these various identities, which color and which race, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you are, from a higher caste or another caste, whether you speak this language or that language, whether you eat this or whether you eat that. So it is all which tries to confuse us and which kind of lowers our potential in several ways. It is how he beautifully put in the beginning that it is very important that we rise above all this. We have to, that living oneness is most importantly the message to forget this. A woman can be an equal or even a higher achiever than a man. A black can be much more a higher achiever than a white. A person who is speaking one language can very much be a much higher achiever than the one who is speaking English. So it is definitely, all these identities are superimposed on us and they kind of bring down our potential from what much, much higher levels one can achieve. And it is so important that we as the Chinmaya family or the education that we are giving to our children, the first thing I believe is to forget all this, to rise to the true potential of a human being, of the one in this world, and not to get bogged down by, or not to really associate too much with any of these identities, because that will somehow limit in some way or the other. So the countries, the religion, the gender, the tribal, the non-tribal. I happened to work in the Northeast just before coming to Delhi, and I saw the various identities that thrive in that one area, and it is livening to see the various identities being growing, all growing together, but then the differences between one and the other is also clearly visible. So these are the factors which kind of are kind of intangible, or I mean, which are kind of indirect obstructions to the thought of this oneness. And so how do I propose that we, kind of, all of us can't become saints, and all of us have to live a practical life, and all of us have to achieve in this limited time and limited space of our profession, of our family, of our home, of our country that we have. So I really feel that what has contributed to my understanding in the recent times to really creating a oneness. And I would list 3 factors. There would be many more, but to my understanding, I first and the foremost I would list is mobility. And once, this mobility is such an important factor that once we start moving, once we start traveling, once, mobility is made convenient, a lot of barriers come down, a lot of barriers just vanish. And one is able to see firsthand as to what is happening in that other part of the world, which was so much, for which we had heard so much or read so much, but now you are there for there to see practically yourself. Another important factor that has really taken over the world and really helped in oneness, in my opinion, is technology. And this technology has really transformed, has really put everybody like on that common, portal, one should say. Everybody is there for the entire world to see. And irrespective of any of these barriers we talked about, whether one is speaking which language, whether one is really educated or not, whether one is a female or a male, or from a rural background, or from an urban background, or a metropolis, or New York, wherever one is able to see what is happening around, and one is able to strive to achieve some level of potential to whatever his or her ability or his reach is. And I think this technology is another great step towards oneness. And the last but not the least, the education. I think education in its various forms, as Shanti ma'am beautifully told, it enables you in so many ways, and it really has the potential to change one's life. So these are few things. Of course, open thinking, innovation and open thinking, and this, of course, is a part of the fact that we open ourselves and kind of open the thought process, be more receptive to what is coming around. And with these thoughts, I felt that this oneness, although a very uniquely and a very strong spiritual concept, I have tried, or I kind of thought that what exactly in the modern life enables or has enabled to reach this goal of oneness, and how unknowingly maybe mobility, say of flights, of a bike, of a scooty. I remember when I was posted in a remote area, and I would hear that the girls are not able to go to a coaching institution because of various safety reasons. And later on, when these scooties came and the scooties were cheaply priced, it was many girls who were able to connect to or reach to that coaching institution, were able to get selected in several exams. So this is a very trivial example. But then this changed their lives. And this small thing, which was scooty or whichever had it was affordable to these girls, and they were able to demand their parents to buy and return late at night perhaps, and take their coaching and succeeded. So mobility, and therefore I felt that this whole thing of oneness has a lot of modern factors are there which are enabling this oneness. And I have tried to, with my understanding, list a few. And I have, just to conclude, as the time is short, throughout history, it is those who have truly recognized this oneness are the ones who have been great. Whereas those who have got lost in the littleness of so many other things are lost. But the truly great scholars or philosophers or thinkers or whoever comes across our mind across the world were really the ones who thought of this oneness at a universal level. And I believe that the Chinmaya family is doing a great job in bringing our children to that potential of identifying, of looking for that oneness in everything and every being that we meet. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I hope I have been able to put across my thoughts, and I'm extremely grateful to Swami Anukulananji and Swami Mitrananji, Shanti ma'am, and everybody from the Chinmaya family who is connected here for this wonderful initiative on G20. Hari Om.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
This evening is coming to an end. However, it's a new beginning to a better tomorrow. The speakers have left us all spellbound with their expertise and helped us resonate with the theme Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The C.I.R.S family urges each one of us to invest our thoughts, energy, and action to a sustainable future. And I must mention gratitude, as gratitude is the highest virtue of mankind. So may I please invite Brahmachari Sanatan Chaitanya Ji, spiritual guide of C.I.R.S, to propose the vote of thanks to many seen and unseen hands behind this program. With this, we bid farewell to all of you for a brighter world for today and tomorrow. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank you, Padmashini ma'am. And I must say that when ma'am mentioned that gratitude is the highest, that, it is not something where, you have to do it because it is a program, but it's heartfelt. And listening to all the speakers, I'm really left spellbound. So I'm just going to begin my vote of thanks by bringing my hands together in the global symbol of Namaste. The divinity in me respects the divinity in all of you. And that I feel is the greatest symbol of gratitude, which I can start with. Now, starting off with Swami Mitrananji, he raised us up to a different level, elevating us by bringing in Adi Shankaracharyaji's concept of oneness and bringing in the message of Vedanta, connecting it to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, where he's brought us to that level and made us start the seminar from there. Thank you so much, Swamiji, for your most inspiring speech. Coming to Shanti ma'am's speeches, her professional expertise and ground level understanding of what it takes to implement these concepts to the level of students, bring it to the level of students. And I really would like to mention Shanti ma'am's speech focused on this mindset and vision, change of mindset and vision. That is something which is most important, which all of us need to think about. Thank you so much for bringing that beautiful concept. And one more thing which which struck me was Shanti ma'am's talk was when she spoke about pedagogy. We all talk about Indian knowledge systems, but we never talk about Indian knowledge teaching methods. So where Shanti ma'am said our teaching methods should change to incorporate the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Thank you so much, Shanti ma'am, for bringing these wonderful insights to all of us. Sreenathji's amazing talk, really, I don't have words to say the insights which he provided into the various indigenous cultures of the world. And I was left spellbound because there's so much new things to do and new ideas which we gathered from his talk. And also his mention of the Bhagavad Gita and the various nuances of Dharma. Right, thank you for bringing all this knowledge to the session, Sreenathji. Thank you so much. And of course, Santosh Mishra ji, once again, no words, because when he's talking about business and economy, Santosh ji kind of, visually showed us the kind of impact which India has had in the past and what is happening right now. And he also brought out this, the effect of the colonial loot, colonialism, and clarity regarding the colonial mindset or the coloniality which is pervading society right now. And as we are talking about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and oneness, universal oneness, there are still certain circles in the world who believe that repatriation is one of the key ways to achieve reconciliation. So thank you so much, Santoshji, for bringing out that beautiful thought to all of us, because that is also a much needed part of this idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Jayasree ji, thank you so much for your insights on ecology and regenerative development. And I really like the way Jayasree ji started her talk by emphasizing on the concept of joint families. Right now in the time and age when even the very existence of the family unit is being questioned and the need for it is being spoken of in society, she started her talk beautifully with the importance of joint families. Thank you so much for that, Jayasree ji. And also her key lines are very nice. Development is not growth. We should focus on development and not growth. And also she had this very beautiful rhyme where growth is about earning and development is about learning. Right? Thank you so much. That is very beautiful lines in your speech, Jayasree ji. Thank you. And finally, we come to Sonal ji. So I, spoke about how Swami Mitranji elevated us to the level of Vedanta, level of oneness, and he spoke about Shankaracharya ji. And Sonal ji mentioned in her talk the core concept or core tatparya of Shankaracharya ji's philosophy, which is Aham Brahmasmi, right? Oneness on a universal level, oneness on a spiritual level. And then she connected it beautifully, to all the audience with very simple example like white color containing all colors, right? So the bringing such, high lofty philosophical ideals using such beautiful examples and connecting it to our level with the concept of living oneness was indeed noteworthy. Thank you so much for that beautiful talk, Sonal ji, which was also filled with live examples of her work and professional experience, how she has interacted with so many different people and an insight into their mindsets, right? That was indeed very, very very, very inspiring. At the same time, it also conveyed very clearly the concept of living oneness to all of us. Thank you so much. At the offset, I would also like to thank our dear Madam Principal for giving us all this opportunity to come together on this, on this platform and have this entire seminar. Our entire C.I.R.S team, our Ganesh sir, our headmistress, Swami Anukulananji, for inspiring us, motivating us to make this entire C20 event possible. For this whole month, we've been having a plethora of programs, and literally every single student in the school is singing Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam here and there. We can hear it reverberating in our halls. Thanks to everyone in the C.I.R.S team for making this possible. Now, we would be doing a disservice if we, do not mention this, but the Global Chinmaya Mission, and especially Swami Mitranji, National Coordinator for the C20 seminars, for providing C.I.R.S with an opportunity to make this possible. In this last 1 month, the kind of things we did, we never would have thought this kind of, thing is possible, but so much involvement and so much research and discussion. All this was possible because of the opportunity which was provided to us by Swami Mitranji and the central team at the Chinmaya Mission. Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you so much for this. And of course, we should be acknowledging the efforts of the Government of India in promoting the beautiful theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I would like to draw from Swami Mitranji's line again, where he said that who would have thought that countries on a global scale would be discussing the Upanishads, right? This is when Swamiji says it's really opened my eyes, and this is all because our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and his entire team in the Government of India for bringing this, this Indianness, to the global level, right? And that is really something which we should acknowledge. And finally, nothing can happen, nothing can take place without the grace and blessings of our Guru Parampara. And of course, the vision which Puja Gurudev has provided us is inspiring us and making us dynamic to continue on this, in this path, and inspiring more and more people in our journey. So we should, we offer our humble pranams and gratitude at Puja Gurudev's feet, and hope and pray to Puja Gurudev that his grace and blessings keeps pushing us forward into achieving greater and greater things. And with this, I would like to conclude my vote of thanks. Once again, I bring my hands together in front of all of us in the universal symbol of Namaste, saying Hari Om, the divinity in me respects the divinity in all of you. Thank you so much. Now we will be moving on to the most befitting conclusion for today's evening, which is Puja Gurudev's own Chinmaya family pledge. And very importantly, this pledge will be delivered to all of us in Puja Gurudev's own voice. Right? It is a befitting conclusion to our program because its theme is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And the pledge itself embodies the entire concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Starts with saying we stand as one family. So all of us, everyone is requested to join us in saying the Chinmaya family pledge as it is played in the screen. We can be muted, at the same time join in the pledge. And once again, I would like to emphasize on the fact that how this pledge is bringing out so clearly the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam to all of us. Thank you so much. Hari Om.
We stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined, ever ready to fight against all low tendencies and false values within and without us. We live honestly the noble life of sacrifice and service, producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. We seek the Lord's grace to keep us on the path of virtue, courage and wisdom. May thy grace and blessings flow through us to the world around us. We believe service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is a devotion to the Supreme Self. We know our responsibility. Give us the ability and courage to fulfill them.
through mail to the school, so that any ideas which you would like to share for promoting Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam themes from all the audience is surely welcome. Please do share them on the chat or share them through CIRSchool.in, the Gmail ID, connect@CIRSchool.in, which ID will be shared in chat to all of you. So any ideas which anyone has, which you would like to share, you can please share it with us, and it will definitely be included in our report for the C20 working group. Thank you so much once again. Hari Om.